Evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvām paryupasate. Echapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. This is Arjuna's 14th question, right at the beginning of the 12th chapter. Evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate. Echapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Hey Krishna, who do you consider the yoga vittama? The one who is perfect in yoga. Yujyate iti yogaha. The one who is perfect in yoga, one who is perfect in attaining Krishna. Arjuna has a very interesting question here. It is profound and also philosophical. It also reflects Arjuna's understanding of Krishna's nature. Evam satata yuktaye. He starts with evam. Thus. Which means he's essentially echoing what Krishna has just then concluded. Let's see what Krishna has concluded. Now Arjuna starts off where Krishna concluded at the end of 11th chapter. And then asks, hey Krishna, evam satata yuktaye. Satata yukta. Yukta, to be engaged. Satata yukta. One who is steadfastly engaged, constantly connected. Evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam upasate. Tvam, with you, one who is constantly engaged with steadfastness, connected with you. The bhakta, tvam. Tvam here stands for, hey Krishna, you with a divya mangala rupa. One who has a beautiful divine form. Echapi aksharam avyaktam. And also, there are those who are constantly engaged in upasana to you, to your different aspect of your nature. Aksharam avyaktam. Tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Between two types of upasakas, those who are devoted to your personal form and those who are devoted to your impersonal form. Who do you consider, hey Krishna, as yoga vittamaha? That is Arjuna's question number 14. Now, what is the context of this question? We have seen how Arjuna experienced awe and shock, one after the other. Experiencing, seeing Vishwarupa, Arjuna's experience began with awe. The vision was exhilarating, enchanting, electrifying, awe-inspiring. And Arjuna enjoyed the vision, what he saw. And then, slowly, the awe turned into a shock and Arjuna was rattled. When Krishna revealed a very unique facet of the Vishwarupa, when Krishna revealed himself as Kala, seeing the Kala Rupa of Krishna, Arjuna was rattled. Rattled Arjuna lost his sense of balance and was unnerved. And immediately Arjuna submitted to Krishna and prayed to him, "Hey Krishna, enough of this rupa of yours. Grant me your natural vision of your natural form." And when Krishna revealed his natural form, the four-armed Narayana form, which was so pleasing and divine, so magnetically beautiful, Arjuna once again regained his composure. Sudurdarsham idam rupam drishavanasi mam yamam deva apyasya rupasya nityam darshana kankshinaha. Krishna revealed. Krishna declares here, Arjuna, Sudurdarsham idam rupam darshavanasi yanmama deva apyasya rupasya nityam darshana kankshinaha. Hey Arjuna, this divine form of mine that you are beholding, this four-armed form of Narayana, Shankha, Chakra, Gada holding, the Narayana form is not easy to behold for an ordinary mortal. Arjuna must be considered so very blessed that he could behold such divine form, the Divya Mangala Rupa of Bhagavan. Sudurdarshamidam Rupa. Deva apyasya rupasya nityam darshana kankshinaha. Even the devas are eager to constantly have the vision of this divine form. Even for them, it is not easy to have this form, to have it constantly. That is what Bhagavan granted to Arjuna. Krishna says, Krishna adds, Naham vedairna tapasa nadanena naijjaya. He says, hey Arjuna, Naham vedairna tapasa nadane naijjaya. Chakyayevam vidod drashtum drishtavanasi mam yatha. This is quite a interesting declaration here. Krishna says, Naham vedair na tapasa na dane na ijjaya. Neither through the study of Vedas, Naham vedair na tapasa, neither through performance of austerities, na dana, neither through the performance of charities, na ijjaya, neither through different kinds of yajnas and worship, one cannot behold this form, he says. All of us are worried. We all thought it is through performance of austerities, performance of dana, performance of yajnas, study of the Vedas, that one can behold his glorious form. Krishna says, none of this will enable you to behold this divine form of mine. It is very important to realize the fact that we can, through our effort, get to know about him. When we put a lot of effort, it is a possibility that we can get to know about him, but to know him, there is something else that is required over and above our effort. After all, we are all finite beings with limited capabilities. How can the finite measure the infinite? It is like walking to an ocean with a spoon to measure the volume of the ocean. It is impossible for the finite to measure the infinite, to know the infinite in totality. Also, our intellect is also made up of matter. Our intellect, which is a very unique endowment, is also a product of Prakriti, which is material in nature. Bhagavan is spiritual. How can we realize the spiritual fully with something which is material? That is the reason why Krishna says it is impossible for one to behold this form of mind, to see me through study of Vedas, performance of yajnas, performance of dana, performance of austerities. And all of us, including Arjuna, have this question. Then how is it possible for you to realize you? Bhaktya tvaranyaya shakya ahamevam vido Arjuna yatum drashtum cha tatpera praveshtum cha parantapa. Arjuna, bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahamevam vido Arjuna. Ananya bhakti, unswerving, unflinching bhakti, unalloyed devotion, undivided bhakti alone. Only through bhakti one can jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Jnatum drashtum. One can know him, see him and attain him. Knowing, seeing and attaining. Knowing also includes experiencing. It is only through bhakti, Arjuna. It is bhakti which can remove the roadblocks from your path and transform the roadblocks into roadways. It is only through bhakti. It is only through bhakti that you can get to see, know me, see me and attain me, Krishna declares. So therefore, going back to the earlier declaration, Krishna is not saying do not study the Vedas. Study of Vedas is very much prescribed. But study of the Vedas, if the study of the Vedas has to be fruitful, we need to add the element of bhakti to the study of Vedas. The study of Vedas without bhakti will not fetch the reward. Performance of austerities. Performance of austerities will not fetch the reward if there is no element of bhakti to it. It is only Krishna who can purify us. It is not the act of austerity which is purifying. It is Krishna who purifies us. Without purification, there is no point in performing any austerities. Performing yajna, performing all kinds of worship without realizing that Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer of the rewards. Therefore, bhakti, if yajna without bhakti also does not fetch the reward. So Krishna says, therefore, hey Arjuna, you must realize that the means to knowing me, seeing me and attaining me is unalloyed, unflinching, unswerving devotion. Bhakti alone can lead you to the destination. And having understood that message of Krishna, Krishna then asks his 14th question. Knowing thus, evam satata yuktaye. Now Arjuna has understood that it is through upasana, sneha purvaka anudhyana upasana. What is upasana? Sneha purvaka anudhyana. Anudhyanam, contemplation, deep meditation, but sneha purvaka. If there is no love, meditating on an object is okay, it can help us in bringing concentration. But if there is no love towards the object, such a meditation is of no use. Sneha purvaka anudhyana upasana. So therefore, having understood that upasana is the means to attain Krishna, Arjuna therefore asks, now between two types of upasakas, Arjuna has also realized Bhagavan Swarupa is nature. Therefore, he has also realized that Bhagavan has several facets. And Arjuna also knows the Shastras talk about several Vidyas. There are 32 Vidyas in the Upanishads. The Upanishads teach us 32 different kinds of Vidya. Vidya is knowing. Vedana, Nididhyasana, upasana. Knowing, seeing, attaining. Jnatu, drashtu, praveshtu. Sadvidya, prana vidya, akasha vidya, sandilya vidya, madhu vidya, dahara vidya, akshi vidya. 32 different kinds of vidyas, upasanas. These are all various kinds of upasanas. Now, Arjuna is broadly classifying the upasakas into two categories. If we take the different kinds of upasanas taught by the scriptures, the upasakas can fall into two categories. This is what Arjuna is now keen to understand. Those who are devoted to the personal form of Bhagavan and those who are devoted to the impersonal form of Bhagavan. Evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate. Paryupasate. Those who perform worship properly. Pasate paryupasate. The upasana, those who perform upasana between two kinds. Satata yuktaye. Those who are engaged constantly, connected to, devoted to your beautiful Divya Mangala Rupa, your divine form, and those who are devoted to your unmanifest form. Echapyaksharam avyaktam. Aksharam avyaktam. Akshara, the imperishable. Avyakta, the unmanifest. Between these two, who is Yoga Vidhama? Who do you consider perfect in yoga? The way to understand this question is, the goal is the same. The goal is Krishna. The goal is Bhagavan. But between the two kinds of upasakas, which is the upasana that brings quicker results? Which is more rewarding? Which is faster in terms of fetching the reward? Is it upasana of the Divya Mangala Rupa or upasana on the unmanifest nature of Bhagavan? This is Arjuna's question. Now, we need to be clear here. Arjuna is not asking this question that many may have, which definitely we after 17 chapters of Gita should not have. But in general, there is a question. Is God formless or with form? This is a question that is often asked. Arjuna's question is not that. Arjuna is not asking whether God is with form or without form. Is he endowed with form or is he formless? That is not the question. Because we have already seen how Arjuna has experienced both. And also, Arjuna has also ardently asked this question. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam. Ichchavi drashtu. I want tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrabaho bhavavishvamurte, he is asked. Towards the end of 11th chapter, after experiencing Vishwarupa, Arjuna clearly asks Krishna, hey Krishna, I would like to see tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrabaho bhavavishvamurte kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ichchamitvam drashtumaham tathaiva. All this is fine, hey Krishna, but I would like to settle for the vision of your beautiful Divya Mangala Rupa. Tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena. Chaturbhujena, this is your natural form, the four-armed form, and immediately adds Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurte. He's also Sahasrabahu. Sahasrabahu means, like the Purusha Sutta declares, the one Sahasra Tirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrabhat. He is all pervading. Sahasrabahu means countless number of heads, hands, arms, stomach, which means he's all pervading, omnipresent. Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurte. You are also one who has Chaturbhuja. Arjuna understands Bhagavan is endowed with a divine, beautiful form. He is also formless. So form and formless are not conflicting and contradictory. Arjuna knows this. That is not the question here Arjuna wants to know, wants answer for. No, form and formless are not conflicting at all. Formlessness of Bhagavan is not attributeless. In fact, formlessness is an attribute of Bhagavan. When we say Bhagavan is formless, it is a state of him being Vibhu. Bhagavan is formless. No, it is not either or. It is both. He is formless and he also has form. His formlessness denotes his state of being Vibhu. Vibhu means one who is omnipresent. Bhagavan is Vibhu. He is omnipresent. Formlessness denotes his pervasion. He pervades everything. He pervades everything and anything. Vibhutva. He is therefore, when we say he is formless, it is denoting that aspect of Bhagavan which is all pervading. Now, Parashara beautifully gives us the prayer to understand his formlessness and his divine form. Avikaraya Shuddhaya Nityaya Paramatmane Sadaika Rupa Rupaya Vishnave Savajishnave. He beautifully gives us the answer. Avikaraya Shuddhaya Nityaya Paramatmane. Avikaraya, the one who is not subject to any changes. There is no vikaras. Shuddhaya, ever pure. Nityaya, eternal. Paramatmane Sadaika Rupa Rupaya, one who is endowed with a divine, undiversified, changeless form. Now, how can we understand this coexistence of form and formlessness? We can take a simple example to appreciate how both form and formlessness always coexist when it comes to Bhagavan. A simple analogy. When the room is dark, I bring an oil lamp and then I light the oil lamp. The moment I light the oil lamp, the room is filled with effulgence. The room is filled with effulgence. Now, the effulgence that fills the room, that pervades the room, denotes the formlessness of Bhagavan. At the same time, I can also see the flame that is distinct and different from its effulgence. The effulgence in no way limits the flame. The effulgence is all pervading in the room. Does not mean that the light does not have a form. There is a very defined form that I can relish, that I can see, which is the flame. The flame has a form and the effulgence is formless, and both coexist. Avikaraya Shuddhaya Nityaya Paramatmane Sadaika Rupa Rupaya Vishnave Sarvajishnave. No doubt, our scriptures talk about both formlessness and form of Bhagavan. Detailed discussion all across, be it the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, even in the Gita we have seen. Both aspects of Krishna are discussed and relished in detail. But we need to understand that formlessness and form, personal and impersonal, always coexist. Even when the scriptures describe impersonalism of Bhagavan, the impersonal nature of Bhagavan is essentially to be understood as a negation of his material nature. Negation of material form. When the Shastras say he is impersonal, the Shastras are only negating a material form. Let's take an example here. Shukram, Akayam, Avranam. Shukram, Akayam, Avranam. Here, the Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad, is describing Bhagavan. Saparyagate Shukram Akayam Avrinam. Shukram Akayam Akayam. Kaya Akaya. The Upanishad says Bhagavan is Akaya, does not have a body. But it does not stop there. Akayam Avrinam, it says. Why it is not, is it not, once you say he does not have a body, then why further the Upanishad should go on and say he does not have a body, Akayam Avrinam. Also, he does not have any diseases. Which means the Upanishad wants us to rise to the understanding that he does not have a body like ours, a material body that is subject to diseases, a material body that is subject to karma, a material body that is subject to change. So Akaya here is Kayam, means body, which is subject to the laws of karma. He has a body which is not subject to the laws of karma. Similarly, the Upanishads also say, Pashyati achakshuha, chakshushu. Pashyati achakshuhu, shunoti akaranaha. Seems to be conflicting. Seems to be very conflicting in nature. The Upanishad says, Pashyati achakshuhu. He sees, but he has no eyes. Shunoti akaranaha. He hears, but he has no ears. Seems, why is the Upanishad contradicting? It looks like it is filled with contradictory statements like this. He sees, but he has no eyes. How is it possible? Why? How can there can be contradictory statements given? We can reconcile these contradictory statements taking a simple analogy. Let's take two statements, similar statements like this. Govinda stayed at home. He did not go to school. Statement number one. Statement number two, Govinda excelled in his exam. Two statements. He did not go to school. Statement number one. Statement number two, he topped the class in the exam that day. Conflicting. Seems to be contradictory. How is it possible? Pashyati achakshuhu. How is it possible? How do you reconcile this? Yes, both statements are true. Govinda stayed at home. Govinda topped his class. How do you reconcile? He took the exam online. You can reconcile. The moment you come to know that he took the exam online, then these two statements are no longer contradictory or conflicting. Similarly, Bhagavan sees, but he has no eyes. How do you reconcile? Yes, he has no eyes. He does not have mamsa chakshusha. He does not have material eyes. He has spiritual eyes. So the negation, that are the negative statements which are negatory in nature, are all meant to deny his material nature. When the scripture talks about Bhagavan being formless, it is negation of his not possessing a material form. He does not possess a material form. He possesses a spiritual form. Therefore, formlessness and form can comfortably coexist. No conflicts, no contradictions whatsoever. Arjuna is very, very clear about this. And Arjuna here is asking, while you have the nature of being unmanifest, while you have the nature of being formless, which is all pervading, his question is, which is better, Hey Krishna? Because there are yogis who contemplate on your unmanifested nature, you being an avyakta, unmanifest. There are those yogis who contemplate on you being omnipresent, vibhu, and they are devoted to you. At the same time, there are yogis who are devoted to your Divya Mangala Rupa. Between these two, what would you recommend? What is your recommendation, Hey Krishna? This is Arjuna's question. Because Arjuna is now clear. Upasana is the means. Bhakti Yoga is very clearly established. By end of 11th chapter, it's very clearly established. There was no reason for Krishna to further continue. Because he's already conveyed all the key principles. But now Arjuna wants to know which of these two modes of upasana is quicker in terms of fetching the reward. And therefore, Krishna gives an answer to Arjuna. Krishna responds to Arjuna's question. Mayyaveshya manoyemam yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetaha deve yukta tamamataha. Mayyaveshya manoyemam. Mayi aveshya manaha. Aveshya manaha. When your mind is tightly connected with me, Mayyaveshya manoye mam. Mam, Krishna is now pointing to himself. Mam, the one who is standing right in front of you. Not the all-pervading nature of Krishna. It is clearly pointing to Mam, the one who has a divine Divya Mangala Rupa. The form which is so very attractive, so very enchanting. Mai aveshya manoyemam yukta upasati shraddhaya parayopetaha. Shraddhaya parayopetaha. Shraddhaya para upetaha. One who is endowed with highest of faith, Shraddha. Shraddha is very much important. Why? Because Krishna himself said before, to behold his rupa is not very easy. And the mind is so fickle, it keeps asking this question. You're not able to see him. You're not able to see him. Why then you should be devoted to him? Out of mind is, what they say, out of sight is out of mind, or something like that. You're not able to see him. So, Shraddha is very much important. This Shraddha, the faith here, is not abandoning logic, is not discarding logic. Very important to understand. It is submitting, surrendering logic to a higher standard to determine truth. Shraddhaya parayopetaha teme yukta tamamataha. According to me, Krishna declares, Arjuna, there is no doubt. According to me, the one who is devoted to my divine form, he is the one who is the perfect, who is the highest of yogis, the one who does bhakti to my divine form. He is of the highest nature. Because why? For him, attainment, knowing, seeing, and attaining me becomes a lot more easy. Is easier, is faster. The moment we are attracted to his divine form, our infatuation for the material forms slowly wanes. The more we are attracted to Krishna's divine form, the less is the influence of material forms on us. Therefore, Krishna says it's very easier for a yogi who is on the path of being devoted, performing bhakti to my divine form. Mayyaveshya manoyema te yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetaha te me yukta tamamataha. Etvaksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintyam cha kutastam achalam dhruvam sanniyamendriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhayaha te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hiterataha. Krishna also adds, let me also say, those yogis who are devoted to my nature of being unmanifest, they also attain me. Te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hiterataha. He says, etvaksharam anirdeshyam, aksharam anirdeshyam, akshara. There are those who are devoted to his nature of being akshara, the imperishable, one who is beyond our senses. Aksharam Anirdeshya. Anirdeshya is not being able to define, indefinable. The unmanifest form, the all-pervading formlessness, it cannot be easily defined by words. That is why we have to use negation. The Shastras use the phrase of neti neti, not this, not that. Why? Because it is impossible to use words and try to contain within the words that glorious nature of all pervasion of Bhagavan. Therefore, anirdeshya, not definable. Etvaksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate. Avyaktam, unmanifested. Not having a defined form. Sarvatragam, all pervading everywhere. Sarvatragam achintyam cha achintya. If he is sarvatra, it's very difficult for the mind to grasp it. When we are told he is everywhere, meditate on him, it becomes very difficult to meditate on him being everywhere. But when we are told he is here, look at him and meditate on him, it becomes a lot more easier. When he manifests with a divine form, it is easy to grasp him. Otherwise, grasping is beyond our mind. That is why he is achintya. Sarvatragam achintya. Achalam. Achalam is immovable because he is everywhere. Where will he move? There is no space. He is not restricted by space as well. Therefore, achalam. Kutastam, unchanging. Dhruvam, eternal. So there are those yogis who are devoted to his unmanifest form. Now these devotees, how do they do upasana? Krishna answers. He says, Sarvendriya Gramam. He says, Sarvendriya, only by the control of Indriyas, in order to contemplate on his all-pervading nature. It is very, very important first to get all the Indriyas under control. Sarvendriya, without the Indriyas under control, it is impossible. So, one needs to cultivate Vairagya and Viveka. Detachment to the world becomes fundamental here. One needs to completely annihilate all kinds of desires. Therefore, this path becomes very, very arduous. Krishna says, this is like one, instead of taking an elevator to go all the way up to the mountain, to the top of the mountain, one is choosing to take the staircase. In order to reach to the top of the mountain, there are two possibilities. Either take the staircase or take an elevator. Those who do bhakti to his divine form are those who take the elevator. Those who contemplate on his all-pervading unmanifested form are those who have chosen to take the staircase all the way. It requires tremendous effort. And that is why Krishna says, Kleshodi kadarastesham avyakta sakta chetasa avyakta hi gatir dukkam dehavadhiravapyate, he says. Kleshaha adhikatara stesham. Klesha, struggle. Adhikatara, not ordinary struggle. Adhikatara, the struggle for those who choose to contemplate on his unmanifested nature. It's not an easy path. It's a great struggle. Klesho adhikatara stesham avyakta asakta chetasa. In order to get the mind anchored, connected to the unmanifested nature of Bhagavan, it's a great struggle. The path is very troublesome here, Arjuna. Krishna says. Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadviravapyate. Dehavadvir, as long as one is embodied, it is very, very difficult here, Arjuna. Very, very difficult to go on this path of contemplating on the unmanifest nature, on his formless aspect of Bhagavan, Krishna says. So imagine we have to take a cart load, a cart filled, fully filled, very heavy cart, a trolley, very, very heavy trolley. We have to take it all the way up the mountain. And if we keep pushing it, we need a lot of effort to keep pushing it. It's strenuous. We need to exert a lot of energy to keep pushing it upward. And if the mountain is steep, as we go up the mountain pushing the cart, it becomes an arduous task. It's not easy at all. And even for one moment you stop pushing, or for one moment you take your hands off the cart, will start rolling all the way back down. On the other hand, imagine there is somebody on the other side who is more powerful and who is pulling the cart all the way up to that extent that you don't need to do anything. The cart is nicely being pulled all the way up. Krishna is here saying, when we contemplate on the unmanifested nature of Bhagavan, the effort that is required to stay connected with him is humongous. It is beyond our capabilities. It is like pushing this cart all with our own effort all the way up. On the other hand, when we start to contemplate on his Divyamangala Rupa, it is like the cart being pulled. There is no more requirement for us to push. The pushing gets transformed to pulling. Because why? Krishna is not a passive object of love. It is very important to understand this. He's not a passive object of love. When we love him, he's not passively receiving our love. He is an active lover who reciprocates, who gives more than who takes. When we love him, he loves us more. He reciprocates. And what happens is, when we love him, when we show our desire, and when he sees the intensity of our desire, then he loves us more and he takes over. And this is where the analogy of the cart being pulled, then the whole journey becomes completely effortless. When we conceive reality only as a negation, when we conceive reality only as a negation of material nature, then that conception requires us to work very hard to stay on the course. But when we conceive reality as something which is attractive, then it's no longer push, it's the pull. Krishna's pull takes over. That is why the Gita talks about how, knowing his nature, we can evolve and progress. We can evolve and progress. The ascent of our consciousness depends on the descent of his revelation. The more we ascend, our ascent is because of his revelation. And this happens as we walk on this path of bhakti towards him. Let's take another interesting analogy which can help us how we can evolve in terms of realizing his nature. Let's say there was this railway station that was constructed in the village for the first time. Nobody has seen a train in their lives. So there's a nice track that is laid on and there's a nice platform, and there are 3 eager children waiting on the platform to see the first train that is going to come to their village. And then in the far distance, they can hear a sound. They can hear a sound and they see the train approaching. And all the three boys, the three children are looking and they can see a flash of light, effulgence, light everywhere. From far, they can see the light and they can hear the sound. Immediately, the first boy rushes into the village and says, I have seen a train, I have seen the train. And he says, the train is all about light and sound. Full of effulgence, is glowing, is resplendent. Its light spreads everywhere and it has divine sound. Now, is he wrong? No, he's not wrong. But his realization is still partial. Train is approaching the platform slowly, getting closer and closer to the platform. And the second boy now looks beyond the light. He now sees there is something like an engine. And then there are wagons and there are doors, there are windows. And he also sees there are passengers sitting inside. Immediately this boy rushes to the village and he says, I have seen the train, I have seen the train. Yes, the train has light, sound, it has an engine, it has wheels, it has wagons, compartments, doors, windows, and I see people looking at outside. That's the train. Is he wrong? No, he's very much right. He's correct. But still his realization is not full and complete. Now the train comes to the station and stops. And then out from the engine gets down the engine driver with a box of sweets. And then the third boy approaches him and the engine driver gives him the box of sweets, hugs him and says, no, you are going to be my first passenger. And with all attention and care, the driver explains the various features of these engines, and the boy could strike a relationship with the driver. Now the boy comes to the village and announces. He announces, I have seen the train. I know the train. It has an engine, several compartments. It carries all kinds of passengers from one place to the other place. Lots of features. And more importantly, there is a driver. And a driver who is kind, care, compassionate, who takes care of us. Now, here, over and above, knowing about the train, the third boy has also known the train. Now he has struck a personal relationship. This completes the realization of Krishna. The realization can progress knowing different facets of Krishna. Knowing that he is beyond the temporary matter. That realizing his nature of being eternal. Now, Krishna is Satchidananda. Now, when we long for eternity, which is our natural longing, we begin to realize his Sat, nature of the Sat, which is eternal. Beyond knowing that he is eternal, when we get to see order in this universe and there is one who controls everything, we also get to know the Chit aspect, the one who controls and rules. And then we also get to know that he is the source of all bliss. He is the abode of all divine auspicious qualities. He is the source of all my Ananda. He is the source of all attraction, the Ananda aspect of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says, when one realizes me in totality and starts to develop a reciprocating relationship, such a relationship makes one's journey not only faster but sweeter. It's the journey, that is why bhakti is so very sweet. The journey, the pathway of bhakti itself is so sweet because every moment one is experiencing bliss. Then Krishna says, Etu sarvani karmani mahi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena maham dhyayanta upasate. This is one of those wonderful declarations. Etu sarvani karmani mahi sanyasya matparaha. Krishna is echoing his conclusion of the 11th chapter. Pat karma krimmat paramahamat matta sangavachita nirvaira sarabhuteshi asamaveti pandava. One needs to make 5 choices. A bhakta makes 5 choices. Mat karma krin, mat paramaha, mat bhaktaha, sangavajjitaha, nirvairah sarvabhuteshu. 5 choices. Mat karma krin, mat karma krit, doing Krishna's work. Realizing that when I do his work, he will take care of my work. I don't need to worry about what is needed for me. As long as I contribute to his work, my well-being is taken care of. Mat paramaha. Doing his work and fully rooted in the knowledge of he being the goal of all my endeavors. He being the goal of all my goals. Mat bhaktaha. Devoted to him and him alone. Undivided bhakti, undivided love. He is not one amongst hundreds in my list. Somewhere, maybe, we can say, Krishna, you are in my top 10. No, not top 10. You should be at the highest of the goals. Undivided love. Everything else comes after him. And when we love him, automatically we love everybody else. Because we know that this entire universe belongs to him. All of us are parts of that one organic whole. But bhaktaha sangavajjitaha nirvairah sarvabhuteshu. The other 2 choices become very easy. When we are attached to him, we get detached from the world. The choice of attaching to him and to him alone, and the choice of not hating anyone. Nirvairah sarvabhuteshu. Now here, Etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. When one dedicates all actions to me, holding me as the goal of all goals. Mai sanyasya matparaha. Ananyenaiva yogena. Ananyenaiva, without any other goal in life. He becomes the goal of all goals. Yogena, bhakti yogena, ananyenaiva yogena, maam dhyayanta upasate. Very important here message Krishna is giving. The message is, when we do what is possible, Krishna will empower us to do the impossible. When we do what is possible, many a times, Etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena maam dhyayanta upasate. Constantly keep thinking about him is the injunction. Immediately we will ask this question. How is it possible for me to constantly keep thinking about Krishna? I have 1,000 other things to do. It is impossible to stay connected with him 24/7. Krishna says, no problem. What is possible? Maybe, Krishna, few minutes, maybe few hours at best. Do it. Do it. When we do what is possible, he will empower us to do what we think is impossible. That is the reason why abhyasa, repetition, when we chant repeatedly his namas, when we chant repeatedly the shlokas and praise him, what is the repetition? Repetition is nothing but repetition. Petitioning him constantly every time. Every time we repeat, we are petitioning him, hey Krishna, it is your grace alone. Fill me with your grace. Fill my heart with love. I am not capable of loving you genuinely and sincerely. You make me love you genuinely and sincerely. Maybe I will do a little. You take care of the rest. Krishna here very clearly says, Aranyenaiva yogena maam dhyayanta upasate. When we do little things, he enables us to take the giant leap. Not only that, not only enables us to take the giant leap, Krishna goes several steps forward. And he says, Teshamaham samuddatta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat patta maya veshita chetasam. Says, Arjuna, Teshamaham samuddatta mrityu samsara sagarat. You don't need to worry about crossing samsara sagara yourself. Bhavavi nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. Maya veshita chetasam. To those who try to stay connected with me. The word is try. Not those who stay connected. Try. Krishna is only expecting us to ask for help. If we refuse to ask for help, then I don't know who can help us. What is asking for help? Asking for help is giving our best in attempting to do something for which we need his help. We have to give our best. The endeavor is more important. The will, free will is given to us only for this, to endeavor to do what is right, to endeavor to give our best. And when that endeavor happens, Krishna is giving the greatest of assurances here. He says, do not think that I am beyond reach. We all say, he is beyond our reach. Yes, he is beyond our reach, but we are not beyond his reach. He is beyond our reach, but we are reachable to him. So Krishna gives the greatest of assurances here. Teshamaham samuddhatta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavavilacharat partha maya aveshita chetasam. Mayavi paramam sthanam achiradi gatim vina garudaskandamarope yatechhamanivaritaha. In Varaha Purana, Bhagavan makes the same kind of assurance. Mayavi paramam sthanam achiradi gatim vina. There is no need for a bhakta to struggle to take the exit of Achiradi at the time of death. Ayavi paramam sthanam Achiradi gatim vina. Do not be worried at all. Garudaskandamarope yatechhamanivaritaha. I shall come running all the way mounted on Garuda to hold your hand and take you all the way back where you belong. Teshamaham samuddhatta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavavi nachirat. This is the word we need to underline. See how compassionate he is when he is giving assurances, because he knows that we are demanding. Nachirat, he says, without any delay, because he knows we may ask this question. He doesn't give any room for us to complain. He says, Bhavami nachirat partha, without any delay, right in this very life. You don't need to repeatedly take several other lives. Nachirat, right at the end of this very life, Nachirat, Bhavavi Nachirat Partha Mayaveshita Chetasam. Such is the glorious assurance that Krishna gives in response to Arjuna's 14th question. Arjuna's question was, what is the most effective way to attain you, hey Krishna? Effective way, what is the quickest way? And what is the sweetest way? And back comes Krishna's answer. Sweetest way, the most rewarding way is to stay connected with me. No, not just stay connected, even try to stay connected with me. Connect and keep contemplating on my divine form. Let us continue to contemplate on that Divya Mangala Rupa. Shankha Chakra Gadapane Dwaraka Nilayachta Govinda Pundarikakshara Kshamam. May he continue to protect us always. Sarvam Sri Krishna.